Sorry, don't mind me. I'm just putting on the required uniform for something like this. I think you'll all understand since I've seen you all doing a whole lot of this. Look, a 33%, a 33% interest rate might seem like robbery, but you'll find under the global conditions right now, it's not a robbery. You just need to stay calm. We're going to get everyone through this. It is not a robbery. You can't talk with that on. It's not a robbery. You really need to understand the baseline fundamentals of this country and its ownership structure, its ownership periodic, strategic unraveling. Like there's a whole fucking thing. But basically, yes, the interest rate is going to be 33% on variable rate mortgages, which is impossible. Woohoo! An impossible interest rate, including for the banks. So it is a bank robbery. We are robbing the banks collectively as a country. But we're not robbing certain banks. We're just robbing these robber banks. And they know. Everybody knows this is what's happening. But you're going to have to now responsibly steward yourselves into stability from this position, which means a chain reaction of you're going to be expected to return payments on all of these things. This is a conditional element of all secured property arrangements. This is not a secret. This is always part of the deal. And today, as we hike our rates up to 6%, we give fair warning that at this time next year, they will be 33% and holding until we don't see 90,000 Nazis on the Sydney Harbour Bridge, really, I guess. And do you really blame us? We, just as you, have the right to protect our assets, just as you do, to responsibly steward our finances, just as you do, to regulate our sinful behavior and our sinful expressions of sinful violence and sinful, all the words, all those negative words, sinful, derogatory language, sinful trespassing of historic ideals, all the things. Basically, there's a whole lot of you really that have exposed yourselves for not being Australian and seem to be, based on your financial activity, gambling here in what can only be described as a casino that was unfortunately allowed to be built by these once trusted institutions, now long, disconnected from their establishing foundations, and like a helium balloon let go and floating in a sky of absolute make-believe. Well, all very, beautiful language I'm using to describe this. Unfortunately, not a lot of anything else. So a year warning is more than I was going to give when I pressed play on this. The passage of time between me pressing play and me starting to speak really shows the value of time. That one decision alone, giving hardworking Australians a real go in all of this. Maybe, mistakes of previous incarnations, thrust into urgency by global phenomenon. Sorry, this is just, it was like annoying me to have that covering my face. Just no need. We learned a thing or two since that urgent manifestation all those years ago. And so we're giving fair warning. Pretty fair warning. And it's just that everyone, is so judgmental that they never believe that the Reserve Bank chairman of the, whatever, is a guy in a hoodie that swears a lot. Who else would you want in that position, really? So yeah, a year warning, a year notice. That's more than I had when I was in the same conditions trying to establish a national business in this country on good order, good firm adherence to conservative values, very cautious. I mean, really the only thing that could have stopped it was an illegal attempt on my life over and 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 over again and over again by the mother of my children and her interconnected web of alcoholic fucking psychotic communists and our communist government and our communist funded media, all of that. And yeah, the responsible stewardship of my finances would have been absolutely certain, because I don't rappel off a cliff without my rope being securely tied. I triple checked that motherfucker for obvious reasons. Falling from a height, which, say $1 million. $1 million. If you make, it's like how high can you climb in a day? How much money do you get paid for climbing in a day? How high are you climbing? How many days? Equally apt way of describing, debt. Equally. It's just that we've got a whole bunch of really ambitious free soloists out there that would make that guy, and I wish I could remember his name. I'm so sorry I can't remember his name, but he's a legend. He climbs those mountains without a rope. You got to watch him do that when you realize what you've financially been doing. We have to draw these pictures because you're all just keep hokey poking your way into fucking, la la land. Climbing a mountain without a rope is the same thing. It's like it's a long way to fall. And as we just zoom back with that panoramic shot of just 50% of our population just abseiling this fucking wall without a rope and then not even realizing. And we're like, wobble, holy shit. Now you got to climb down. Climbing down is way harder. That's the problem. Climbing down is harder. Optimism is not always a good thing. The power of positivity will get you fucking killed 9 times out of 10. Think about it. We used to talk about this by, I heard he smoked marijuana and jumped off a fucking building. Oh, I heard he didn't smoke marijuana and indebted his family for the next fucking 200 years so he could whack off to Ukrainian girls on his phone. Do you understand? Yeah. Then you'll thank us for this increase. And, you can thank us however you want. You are thanking us. It's been arranged. Oh, it's all been sorted. Yes, I've received a lovely little greeting card that says, "Dear Shannon, thank you and I'm sorry." And look, every time I receive one, it makes me just smile and I go, they really do. They really do love me. They thank me every day. They love me. They're They've really understood it this time. I think we've got a chance of giving this country a really good go this time. That's like reserved positivity. What better slogan could there be for the Reserve Bank? Reserve Bank. We're reserved positivity. Let's just have a look. That's your ultimate pitch. I'm going to work doing this on this computer while the world's professions in this is now being quickly gobbled up, and I'm going to promise for the next 30 years that I'll be able to make this astronomical figure of fictional fucking monetary notifications on a fucking handheld device that is constantly being exposed as the largest threat to mankind that has ever been. And the banks are like, alrighty. So it's like, who bought all the properties? The banks did. The banks did all the paperwork, basically. They own the property. You are you're their workers. You all work for the bank. Literally, a lot of your time, you work for the bank. And now the bank's been exposed for labor laws, like for slavery. Because if they get to a certain point, it's like, well, that's slavery, because there's no way in hell that anyone's going to pay that off, ever. It's not just about national debt. It's about individual debt. You know? And it's like a debt of what? Debt of money, a debt of gratitude, a debt of servitude. All the steps up that little pile. The problem is that they're really very good at selling, and you're all very gullible. And so they've kept you just on this little drip feed. For a long time, they kept your parents on this drip feed. I guess they have a timeline that's different. I don't even know who they are. I guess I am them. Or see how dangerous language is? God. I mean, I think injecting some female hormones into yourself to fucking weather this storm wherein almost no way is physical manifestations of your strength ever going to help you. More than likely just going to hinder you and get you put in jail. There is no front. There is no war in the desert. I'm upset, kind of. But am I? Probably not. You've got to get to things like, it's not going to be you. You're going to be dead. And you can stretch that death out. And that war can be a war in a different way. But not if you're a slave getting whipped. And I think you've got to really think about, you're right, you're enshackled to a moving warlord's front line. Just day by day, you're marching, shackled. Right? If I sneak up behind you in a hood, in the cover of darkness, and I say, I'm cutting your shackles off, but it's really going to fucking hurt. You might lose a hand. Do you cut it off? Probably, yeah. Yeah, probably. Almost certainly. This is what that is. This is like the Australian version of Gladiator. It's like the Australian version of like, now you really know how good you've got it here. Because we already have a distributed ownership model, and it's far different than the United States. It's far different than Russia. It's really stable. It's really secure. It's really positive. Each man, freeholder of property, each landed man, has an enormous amount of sway in this paradigm, and can now enact his vision for his, personal spiritual manifestation of restructive and constructive commitment to his
place his people and his family. Something like that. Something like that. That's what builds a country. Not anything else. It's like we have to etch out on this land. And if you've gotten there, if you're there, you are equal to me. I don't particularly want to micromanage that cobbled together cohort. It's not about that. It's about if you're there, speak. If you're not, you've got to start undoing the ties. You have a year. And do not pretend that this isn't real. You have a year. Your group. What group? Well, I've got to figure that out. Where are you? Mine's very easy because it's a conversation between a father and his son. A dying father, where every conversation was held almost in that intensity. That's what age will do to you. Age and a significant disadvantage. The music is about to stop. And a lot of you have been raised with the music constantly blaring. There's no grand culminating utopia. There's an exposure of atrocity committed by all. It's hard to see where you are when being led on a march. You see the road, you see the people around you, you speak of things. There's a constant persuasion of the incoming. There's just constant preparation. It's just, I think, that you all thought there would be an enemy. And you looked for that enemy very close to home. You looked for the enemy like a carnivore looks for prey on the edge of the herd, sick, weak. I celebrate carnivores. I love them. You can't fault them for their paradigm, for their preying on lesser beings, aren't they? Lesser, different. It's their role. It's their role to keep balance, keep order of their territory. It's a bit different when the herd starts attacking lions and thinking the same way. Yet to really see that succeed. You know, they might pester the lions to get them off their territory, and they move to another territory, and they, you know, circle around, strengthen themselves, and begin again. But I guess we need to have a look at the output of energy present in my presentation, in my representation, in my defense. To what end, really? And by what measure would I be condemned a carnivore? In any other creature, it's called a swarm. But there's something unpleasant about referring to human beings with these derogatory descriptive tools, words. Now, this type of talk might push you into fear. Oh shit. What do people do with swarms? And this is where I suggest you speak to my children's mother. And you explain, or she can explain to you, how exactly her children's father would deal with a harmful swarm, as opposed to her children's grandmothers. It's always grandmothers. And unfortunately, mine was absent, one of them, probably the most important one. So it's a war of grandmothers? Yes. It's a war of grandmothers. It's very much like that Animal Kingdom movie, the Australian one, before the American remake ruined it and just made it into the OC, or like a porno for women. Women are very susceptible to things like that. I've heard. It's the ultimate, really, because it's only one generation long that can really last. We had a long quaint. So those grandmothers are, they're a fierce and savage bunch, unless they're all exposed, and then they return as grandmothers. It's like, that's what Little Red Riding Hood is about. Ooh. Hang on, a Little Red Riding Hood? No. What's Little Red Riding Hood about? The problem is it's too easy to kill men. As a woman, it's too easy to kill men, especially if you're a little bit clever. Because the truth is that women love killing men, and they kill them very specifically. There is a pattern. There is an absolute model that they use, or that they have been using. And then the problem is that they're grandmothers. We can't do anything to them. Think about that. Think about your worst version of a male, like whatever. Then think you can't do anything to them, and they're just doing and that's this. It's the same because these grandmothers devise strategic alliances with just massive groups of foolish men, kind of just unaware and kept in the overall frame held by our media that this is a big friendly place and this is all wonderful and this is just the thing. It's not that. It's never been that. It's not ever. I think it's the weirdest thing here because we find ourselves in Australia. We find ourselves in Australia unbroken from our links to the monarchy, but then thrust into a vision of a queen and the I'm with her, I'm against her paradigm of a new paradigm. I'm continuously using the word, a new container of women's equality. I think this women's equality statement is particularly dangerous because it insinuates that there wasn't a type of women's equality previous to this. And I would, I'd beg to differ. I'd say there was a ultimate women's superiority. There was a matriarchy that controls multiple patriarchies at multiple levels of perception. Because of course there is. How else would you explain that women aren't going to war? They did a pretty good job at protecting their own on a whole. Really. And I'm not saying to end that. I'm saying that's well done. But you got too greedy. The lionesses really got too greedy. And it's their children and their grandchildren that are devouring the rest of the place. But they've killed all the kings. They've killed all the individuals who would threaten their power. And so they're left with nothing to stop this devouring. And it's so divided. We don't have very few queens creating very few leaders and kings. We have millions of them. Millions of them aligning with terrible technological advancements to bring their final solution to this land, to all land. Their final solution, inevitably, is the Roman Colosseum. And our final rebuttal is this. It's this. We built a bigger Colosseum. Look up from your seat. Stop eating your popcorn. Look up. We're watching you. We've always been watching you. And after after the show, after it all winds up, however it's going to culminate in this pantomime, get back to your squalor. People that make promises and can't, finish them, can't live up to them, really piss me off. They really fucking piss me off. Especially when they use debt. It really pisses everyone off. The only debt I've laid upon this project is my life. There's no intermediary. It's like, well, it's my life that I'm going to put on the line. My actual life, my living heartbeat. I'm not going to promise you my life to participate in your war, in your vision, and continue marching with this zombified group of slaves. And as the little cubs return to their version of whoever grandma is, whoever grandma, Nana, Nanny, all the other words, Nonna, all the other words that describe that woman, which one did you choose? Which one? Mine's been dead for 40 years. And still, has been able to. I've never met her. I don't need to be informed about the failings in her character. Because I've made my decision. What better way to celebrate women's equality than to stand together and recognise the horror that our grandmothers have brought us and ask them to explain their particular flavour of horror that they've brought back from the shop, wrapped in cellophane, and sit at the top of their rock and speak to their families and explain their vision. And then I'd say, as always, respect your elders. Respect your elders. Listen to them. Have you strayed away from their vision? Almost certainly. Almost certainly. So it's not blaming old ladies. It's re-establishing the communication I think hopefully, transparently, I think this should just take place. I'm like, Riley, I'd like you to have a little talk with your grandmothers on the internet, like I'm doing, so we can all listen to that conversation, freed from your father or your grandfather's or your grandmother that I mentioned earlier, its influence. Let's listen to their vision for their Third Reich, for their master race that they are about to describe to you, and how they got there, and how they're financially going to see out this vision responsibly, calmly, and lovingly, like all grandmothers obviously possess. I can't wait. It's way better than The Block. It's way better than Maths. It's way better than My Kitchen Rules. It's called Speaking to Nana. Speaking of Nana, as we all count down the days till our fucking dream vanishes, where we let little Joey go and dig the biggest fucking hole all over the place. But now he's got egg on his face. I don't know. I'm not going to make it a fucking song. What do you think I am, a fucking entertainer? I told you I'm the president of the Reserve Bank of Australia. You've all been hideously irresponsible, and it's time to make amends. For fuck's sake. Where do you think that you fucking live? Las Vegas? God damn it. Anyway, now that that's all been put in order, I ask you to act with courtesy and politeness in all expressions of dialogue. And film it, because it's going to get rowdy, folks. And maybe have some fucking blow darts there just to fucking tranquilize anyone. It's like, tranquilize her. I'm sorry. There's no other way to do it. Maybe put them in fucking 3 fucking rooms so they can speak to each other with video screens. I don't know. I don't know. I didn't have 2 grandmothers. That's the problem. Like I said, I'm not saying that having 2 grandmothers is any less of a problem. It's probably as significant a problem. I can't be the fucking, the ultimate ridder of all problems. Who do you think I am? But I can recognize the potential problem, and I can persuade the eventual culmination of that collision. And just like Abraham sacrificed his son, I now sacrifice my son to the video screen and the room and the conversation and the explanation. And I sacrifice my mother to the same, and my adopted mother to the same. And I look forward to them explaining what they're doing. What are you doing? All of you. I guess someone's always going to be in this position. It's inevitable. If there is a correction, someone will always be kind of smack bang in the interface of that with all these conflicting things. You cannot escape. If something divides this radically, you cannot wholly insulate yourself against this exposure to your group of associates, friends, co-workers. It's just there is no conversation. Before there is war, there is conversation. There is no conversation, so there is no war. There's just preparation. There's just foundational stability. And this is what my example is and always has been. There's an exposure of incompetence, understandably. If I was given an awfully hard job to do, the truth is my grandmothers were given an even harder job, all of them. I don't believe they had any preparation to deal with this power being thrust into their hands. And I don't know exactly what it is that power led to. But power wielded without explanation on this land to this level is illegal. It's always been illegal. But what do we do with every single grandmother being basically Al Capone? What do we do with that? Well, we cut off the money supply. There is no money moving in your direction. There is catapult fire on your walls. Some of your most aspirational descendants are going to be exposed as cons. And some of your most disregarded descendants, mocked descendants, are going to be your saviors. And I can't wait for all the photos, all the happy snaps on Facebook of every grandmother in the country from every nationality, all sitting proudly in their crown. I can't wait. And as I walk through that forest of happy snaps, I'll know that in my wallet, I can pull out the original, the OG, the GOAT, the best of us all. And there's still a bloody good chance that I'm going to see her there at whatever age she is displayed, and say, well, you were the best of us all.